this painting yesterday, and because I'm feeling the urge, I'm going to follow it, and I'm going to start as many new paintings today as I possibly can. No matter what, I always let myself make art if I feel like it. So let's just say, like, maybe for the day I have other things planned, I need to edit a video, or I'm looking at my silhouette machine, make stickers or do that kind of stuff. If I feel the urge to make art and to paint, I let myself drop everything else. Like, making art is the most important thing. And that means that when I like maybe go through periods, like maybe a few weeks or a few days of not feeling like in the mood to make art, I don't really mind, because I know that that feeling is going to come back around, and when it does, I will prioritize it. And right now I'm feeling very energized. I'm feeling very excited to start some new paintings, because I haven't started new paintings in quite some time now. I've just been like sort of working on paintings that I've had going for a while, because my process usually to finish paintings, if you're new to this channel, it takes a while. I'm an intuitive artist, and one of the reasons why I call myself that is because I don't tend to have a set plan for paintings, so they can sit in the corner of my studio while I'm figuring out like my next move on them, or while I'm flitting back and forward between stuff as my mood takes me. So today my mood is taking me to start some new paintings. I honestly don't really know what they're gonna be. I do have some canvases that I picked out. I have a pile of canvases in my studio. Some are unopened, some are new, but some are like things that I've started before but maybe like painted over. So this is something I've just like painted a random background on, probably to use up like spare paint off my palette. Sometimes I'll just whack it on a canvas. This one is a moon that I painted because I was thinking of doing an art class where I was teaching like people how to paint a moon like this, but that never happened. But now I've got this pretty background, and this, I think I was just using up paint when I was painting this painting, because it's got the same colors, and I think I was practicing how to paint like wings. But this is oil paint, so I know I need to paint oil on top of this, which is good because today I'm going to be painting in oils, which is something I don't do often as a mainly acrylic painter. But I'm going to see if I can start all these 3 canvases in this method that I did on this canvas for this underpainting. I'm going to show you how I do it, and I'm also going to talk to you about like why I'm doing it. And yeah, we're just going to start a bunch of new artworks. And when I say we, I mean me, but you're here with me in spirit. I should get a seat for you guys. But you're just kind of like hanging around for now. You're just kind of standing awkwardly in the corner. So I want to start these 3, but I also have a new canvas that I want to start. Plain, new and white, and kind of big, but we'll see how we go, because I tend to overestimate what I can get done in a day. I hope you enjoy this video and you enjoy an insight into the starting of a few new paintings. And hopefully throughout the course of the next few months, we'll go on the journey together of working on these paintings and finishing them and seeing where they take us.
Looking around, nobody's with me, guess I'll move on ahead. Searching the ground, 'cause I've been here before, it's all inside my head. Is it not strange how we all find with each other, the other? Is it not strange how we all find
So I'm noticing some like weird dried up little paint bits on my canvas right now. And I think it's because a decent amount of my acrylic paint is a little bit old. Like I've had these tubes for a really long time and they've been fine up until kind of recently, where I've been noticing like a bit of dried up paint in some of them. But I still hate wasting art supplies. So I really want to use them up anyway. And I think on backgrounds like this, like it's doable because I can sort of pick the bits out, or even once this layer is dry, I might come in and give it a light sand and then give it another coat. Or alternatively, for some paintings, I would just leave these little chunks of paint in because it's texture, unintended texture, but sometimes that can be cool. I can kind of like work them in, like as I'm smushing my paintbrush into them, they're getting smushed out. But I think for this painting, I want a smoother surface than that anyway. So I do think I'm going to come in and sand this once it's dry. But aside from that, I really like how this beige and this orange is looking together. I didn't choose these two colours for any particular reason, apart from the fact that because I use a lot of purple in my artworks and I'm really drawn to it, purple and blues, I recently have started to want to introduce more orange into my art as a complementary, which I haven't really done that much before, but orange and purple look so good together. So I want to experiment more with that colour combination. So a good way of doing that, I figure, is to introduce it into the underpainting. So what is it that has made me I guess I'd call myself like a mixed media artist, but when I'm painting on canvases, I pretty much paint in acrylic most of the time. I mean, I'll come in sometimes and do like finishing layers in oil, but I definitely don't do that on all my paintings. So most of my canvas paintings are acrylic. So what is making me want to start this whole new series in oil? Well, there's a couple things. Number one would be just that I just love to mix things up. I love art supplies and I love art. So naturally, I love playing with different mediums. But the main reason is that I think that I've noticed that I haven't really been wanting to sit down and paint because of the nature of acrylic paint. And the nature of it is that it dries really fast. So that's been one of the reasons why I've loved it as my main painting medium. But it's also a big factor in what stops me from sitting down to paint more often. Because like even in the one painting session, I'm having to constantly like re-wet my paints, like mist them with water to keep them wet. And I'm actually having to like squeeze out more paint as I work. Now, that's not necessarily a problem while I'm painting, but it means that I have to sort of set up my painting area and set up my palette every time I go to paint, because the paint is not going to last. Like it dries out, even in a big sort of glob, it dries out in a few hours on my palette. So that's kind of been putting me off, I guess. I guess it's my own laziness. But I think I've just wanted to see if I can have more regular painting sessions. Ideally, I'd like to paint every day, and I do go through periods of that. So for a certain amount of weeks or months, like I'll paint every day. But I've noticed that I've wanted to do that, but it's just the thought of having to set everything up, scrape the paint off the next day, make sure my brushes are really washed out, all that stuff that's putting me off. Also because we've just gone into winter here in Australia and it's quite chilly and my studio is a bit cold and I just want to be cozy. So I haven't wanted to be sitting painting at my easels, but that's something that I'm fixing by just having a heater in the room. So basically, I've been a little bit lazy and I just haven't been comfortable in my studio. So by bringing in my heater and swapping over to oils for a while, I'm hoping that it's going to give me that motivation to start some new paintings on canvas. It's interesting how I do notice a lot of people saying how much easier they find it to paint in oils, and I get it on the one hand, but I think I've always found that acrylics came more naturally to me because of that quick drying time and how I could just like layer over the top of any mistakes. And I guess I didn't have to think as much, if that makes sense. But I also know that because I haven't used oils as much, I just haven't come up with my own ways of working, like ways of working that I like. So that's what's made me feel like I'm not good with oils, but in fact it's just that I haven't given them enough time for me to actually come up with my own sort of workflow, my own methods that make oil painting work for me. So that's why I'm starting these underpaintings in this way, because this is something that I've tried before. This method of having a toned background on your canvas and then laying down a coat of paint that's quite thinned down with terps or some kind of paint thinner, and then going in and picking out the mid-tones and the highlights with your brush and terps. I've tried it before and I quite liked it. I think giving myself an underpainting, which is not something I normally do in acrylic, is going to help me a lot just to get the handle of oils. I think going straight in with colour, or just going straight in painting that first layer without an underpainting, I feel like I might be a little bit too tight. I know that my control of oils isn't where it needs to be for me to paint in that alla prima method or in some other oil paint methods. So I'm doing the underpainting thing. Now, another reason why I like this method of underpainting a lot is because it gives you some really unexpected textures that you really couldn't get on your own. I think this is a good time to stop and take a break. I have a bad habit of just painting until I realised I haven't had a sip of water or a bite of food in 7 to 9 business days. this isn't done yet, but I do think that I want to start on one of the other canvases because I just like to switch it up, and it's kind of like if you work back and forth between a few paintings, you end up having fresh eyes when you come back to it. And I've realized that I shouldn't have used black as my base color, because basically with this technique, you're picking out the mid-tones. You want to lay down a color that's dark but not your darkest value. So then you're picking out the mid-tones with your brush, and then you can go in and add the darkest areas with black, or like your darkest value, and you can also add in the white. So the background color and what you're picking out, like what I'm doing now, should be more of those mid tones, and then I actually go in with like white paint and with black, for instance, to add the lightest lights and the darkest darks. So I think I'm gonna do that on the other paintings, but it is possible to do it with this method, and I kind of like using black, but I do think that it means I'm having to be a bit more finicky with my brush, and I would like to try it with a different color. But this is why painting is so fun. You're learning stuff constantly. I know I am. My method changes pretty much every time I do a painting, but that's fun. So I'm gonna go have something to eat, have a bit of a break, and come back and start another one. If my explanation about how I'm doing these underpaintings was a little bit confusing, I have included at the end of this video a little screen recording with a voiceover, a screen recording from my iPad from Procreate, because I feel like I could demonstrate this technique better and sort of show you what I mean exactly when I'm talking about the mid-tones and then adding your lightest light and your darkest darks, just in case I didn't explain it properly, because I'm pretty sure I didn't. So if you're interested in that, that is at the end of the video. So after lunch, which definitely wasn't half of a reheated Subway sub, that would be gross, who does that? I came back to the studio and I started on this little square canvas. And I knew because it was a small canvas, I wanted to paint something on it that was pretty not fussy. I knew I didn't want to do like a whole face or anything. It's a small surface, so I thought I wanted to do more of a close-up kind of painting, and I found a really cool photo on Pinterest. So that is going to be the basis of this painting, and that's what I'm mapping out here now. But if you know anything about my art, I'm very likely to tweak and change this, and it's not just necessarily going to be a painting straight from this reference. Like, I'll add my own spin to it. chat with you guys about something that's not necessarily directly related to painting, but it kind of is. Like, it's, you know, our lives are one whole, and I think a lot of what we do impacts other areas of our lives. And when we're going through kind of changes or evolutions in who we are, or we're going through sort of the cycles and the seasons of our life, it impacts us in a lot of different ways, but ways that kind of relate to each other. So what I was talking to you about before with like, just like wanting to be really comfortable and cozy in my studio, and finding that I wasn't painting because, you know, I didn't want to have to set everything up every time. I wasn't comfortable, like I wasn't warm. It kind of relates to my health and my general sort of state that I've been in over the last few months, which is like really looking at everything in my life and figuring out how I can take better care of myself. So I thought I'd include this little clip of me doing yoga because it kind of relates. For years, I was doing weightlifting and like bodybuilding, and I was going to the gym like 6 times a week, and I was incredibly strong and fit, and I loved it, but I also wasn't really taking care of myself. I wasn't nourishing my body with the right foods. I was drinking way too many energy drinks. My nervous system was frazzled, and although outwardly I was in really great shape, and I felt really strong, I also, it wasn't balanced. It really wasn't balanced. And I'm moving into this phase now where I'm still interested in weightlifting, and I've had a bit of a break from it this year and for part of last year. I'm still interested in it, but I'm also interested in slowing down, listening to my body, and finding more balance with exercise and with movement. It's because I love it, but I've also used it as a way to not think. If I'm training really hard, you can't think when you're training that hard. You know what I mean? It's kind of like I was using it to silence my thoughts and silence parts of my life that I didn't want to deal with. And now I'm in a totally different mentality, and I'm trying to find gentleness with myself, and that relates to my painting and my art, in that instead of just forcing myself to sit in my studio when it's cold and that I'm sort of uncomfortable in this chair that I've got, and force myself to paint when it doesn't feel good, I'm really prioritizing feeling good in everything that I do, and trying to come up with little tweaks to help myself feel good. You know, my painting, my daily painting should be enjoyable, and, you know, obviously, yeah, it should be a challenge, and it's not always going to be sunshine and roses, but I want it to be cozy. That's just my word lately, you know. I want it to be cozy, and cozy to me means that like I'm being nice to myself and I'm helping myself in as many ways as I can. And I'm listening to my body, and I'm taking breaks, you know, to eat, to do yoga, and to be nice to my spine, because this sitting all day painting and editing videos thing is not exactly great for your body. So instead of smashing my body every day on top of that with hectic weightlifting sessions, I'm trying to find more balance. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys. A little sidebar, sharing something else in my life that's a big passion, which is like movement and exercise, and yeah, something that's a big part of my everyday routine, along with art making and this whole YouTube thing. Hello, it's the next afternoon. I did a little bit more work last night, but I still only managed to get 2 paintings done. I have no idea why I thought I'd be able to get all 4 canvases started, but I do tend to have a habit of thinking I can do more than I can, which is kind of good in a way when you think about it. I have lofty goals, so even if I only get half done, which I did, that's still pretty good. I've had the best time starting these 2 paintings. I've really enjoyed working this way, and I sort of have a plan that I want to like start 1 new painting at least like a week for the foreseeable future, and maybe even like 2, because it's quite a time effective way of starting a painting, for me at least. So I'd like to stay on this roll of like starting a bunch of new paintings, because I never know how long that period of like productivity in that way is going to last. So I may as well make the most of it while I can. So in saying that, I am going to work on those other 2 canvases, the round one and the square one, today, and hopefully finish them off. But I'm not going to include it in this vlog because I think it's been long enough, but I might film a little bit and put it in next week's video. So for anyone who is interested, check back next week. So thank you for joining me in my studio these last few days. It's been quite nice. It's quite cold here. It's really feeling like winter. So bundling up and getting the heater in my studio and just hunkering down at my easel has been quite enjoyable. It's always such a fun time when I feel that drive to create some more paintings. Because over the last few years, the paintings that I create take me quite a long time to finish. And I think I've noticed sort of a pattern in the way that I work, where like I'll start a bunch of paintings at the same time and then work on them for a period of months. So I sort of tend to start a lot at the same time, and then it takes me a while to sort of work through them and get them finished. But I would like to keep doing that, but I would also like to have a few paintings mixed in that I finish in a bit more of like a concise time frame. This is just the joy of art. We're going to see how it all goes, and I'm so excited to see where these paintings take me, and I never know where we're going to end up. But yeah, thank you so much. I'll see you in next week's video. And from Maximus, who is right underneath my feet, and me, love you. Okay, bye. Bye. Hello, it's Editing Caitlin here. And you know how I said I was going to put in the little Procreate tutorial at the end of the video? Well, I actually thought it would make a little bit more sense to make it into a full blog post on my blog, which is linked down below or here right now. I wanted to explain the process a little bit better, and I felt like that would be a really good way to do it. So within that blog post is a video, and you can watch the video. It's not available on my YouTube channel. It's not up on my YouTube channel, but it is available on my blog. So I hope that's not too annoying for anyone, but I wanted to also provide some like written explanation as well, and sort of flesh it out into more of like a little mini tutorial. And I thought my blog was a good place to do that. So that's why that clip is not here. Yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Check it out. I also post to my blog fairly frequently these days, so you might like to subscribe. Anyway, love you guys. Bye. Bye-bye.
Where shadows supposedly meet, encounters with the desolate demons. Hell on earth, reject the insect.